Hello, hi everyone. My name is Dr. Sana Khan, and in this video, we are going to talk about sewage treatment, one of the very important part from the chapter Microbes in Human Welfare, which has a tendency to obviously come in your board exam, and there are certain parts which can also come as a form of MCQ in your NEET exams. So let's just talk about sewage treatment in detail and understand it very nicely so that it helps you in your exam. Plus, the PPT is in that point of view that you can make your own notes to this PPT and you can write it down and score all the entire 4 marks. So, okay. So, first, let us talk about sewage. I hope you know what is sewage, right? Anything, okay, anything waste is your sewage, correct? So, the high levels of organic matter, human excreta, domestic waste, and microbes, which also includes obviously discharged water from hospital industries, tanneries, pharmaceuticals, slaughterhouse water, animal dung, etc., forms the sewage. Sorry. So anything which is kachra, I would say, coming from any part of your area, that is either it's a hospital or is a house or it's an industries, anything which comes from which has a lot of microbes, even the water which comes from the slaughterhouse, even the animal dung, all this together they are called as sewage. Okay. So microbes obviously can be pathogenic. So it is essentially to remove that before human use. So water which has a lot of pathogen is obviously not healthy for us. We need to remove those pathogens from them, and then we can only use it. So what is exactly the composition of sewage is, let us see. It contains of 99.5% to 99.9% of water, 0.1 to 0.5% inorganic and organic matter is suspended and soluble form. And obviously the composition is going to vary depending upon from where the waste is exactly coming from. So wherever from it so if it is coming from a particular area or a sector, it would obviously contain that kind of a waste. For example, if it comes from an hospital, it's going to contain that kind of waste more which comes from the hospital. But yes, overall we say that it's 99.5 to 99.9% is water and the rest is the product. So let us talk about the sewage treatment. So now we know what is sewage. Sewage is anything waste which comes from various sectors, right? So obviously we need to do treatment for this sewage so that we can use that water. So that's called as sewage treatment. So treatment of wastewater is done by the heterotrophic microbes naturally present in the sewage. See, it's a sewage, okay? So it's obviously having a lot of pathogenic organism in it, but these organism, microorganism are also helping to break down this sewage. So sewage treatment plants separate solids from liquids by physical processes and purify the liquid by biological process. So anything which is big enough, anything which is solid in nature, that has to be removed by physical process, okay, like by screening and something like that, which we'll be seeing in the PPT. And the liquid which is obviously harmful, that has to be purified with the help of biological process, that is with the help of microorganisms. So let us see what are the stages of this treatment. It's the stages of the treatment are primary, preliminary, primary, secondary, or tertiary treatment. See, many of the books talks about primary, secondary, and tertiary, and there are certain which talks about first preliminary, primary, secondary, and tertiary. See, it's very simple. When you're talking into 4 levels, if you're talking, for example, into 3 levels, that is primary, secondary, and tertiary, so you have to include everything which is there in preliminary in this video into primary. That's it. Nothing else you need to do. The secondary and tertiary is going to be the same. Okay, so let us talk about first the preliminary treatment. So preliminary treatment includes screening and grit chambers. Okay, can you see the screen where I have the screen? Okay, on the screen there is a big screening chamber, right? So this is called as screening chamber. So screening chamber will help the sewage and wastewater to remove the suspended and flowing material. So whatever the material, whatever the floating material, bigger material is there, the coarse material, the solid particles can be removed with the help of screening. The suspended objects are filtered and then removed, and this is done by screening chamber. So it's like a chamber, and when the water goes into that chamber, everything which is solid and coarse gets removed from there. Okay, so that's the first step, that is called as screening. And this sewage after screening is passed into next chamber, that's called as grit chamber. Okay, so what screening will do? Screening will remove the large suspended or floating objects. Okay, and it will also, these will help to remove from the biological treatment. So before going into the biological treatment, all the solid waste will be now removed with the help of screening process. After that, obviously after screening, when the big coarse particles are being removed, our sewage is going to go to the next level, that is called as grit chamber. So can you see, I have shown two diagrams on the image, where on the right hand side, you can see this grit removal, right? Okay, from up it looks something like this, and here you can see a proper grit chamber which looks from inside. Okay, the two images are there just for you to understand how exactly the grit chamber looks like. So after screening, the filtered sewage is then passed into series of grit chambers, and these chambers contain large stones. See, like this. It contains large stone and brick ballast, and all the coarse particles settle down by the gravity. So this chamber will contain lot of stone. Okay, and when the sewage will pass into it, they will get stuck to the stone, and all the heavy particles, because of the gravity, that it is going to settle down. So thus passage of filtered sewage removes much of the coarse particulate matter. So most of the sewage which is having a solid particle will be now removed with the help of grit chamber. So preliminary treatment will include very easy, that is screening and grit chamber. So because of these two, most of the solid waste is going to get removed. After that, the sewage has to undergo the next step of treatment, that is called as primary treatment. So in primary treatment, you have physical treatment. Like now, what we will be doing here is sewage water is pumped into primary sedimentation tank. Can you see the tank in the image? This is a very big tank image. This is called as sedimentation tank. So what is sedimentation? Obviously, you have to allow the sewage to stand still, and whatever the particles will be there, it will get settled down in the bottom. So the sedimentation of suspended solid or organic matter occurs in this tank. So about 50 to 70% of the solid is now going to settle down. So the sewage is allowed to stand still for a longer period of time. And because of that, 50 to 70% of the solid is now going to settle in the bottom. And there is a reduction of about 30 to 40% of coliform organism because of this process. So the organic matter which has settled down is now called as sludge, which has to be removed by mechanically operated device. It's very, very, very important. See, here you are going to hear the words like sludge, activated sludge. So please do remember that the particle which gets settled down from sedimentation tank, that is called as sludge. Okay, so what is sludge? It is that waste which has accumulated due to sedimentation of sewage, which needs to be obviously removed. See, like this. Can you see from the grit chamber how it is how the sewage is going into the primary sedimentation tank, and how the primary sludge over here is getting accumulated. So here there is a pump which will help to remove this primary sludge. Okay, so the supernatant effluent is the primary sedimentation tank, still contains large number of organic matter and microorganism which can then be removed by secondary treatment. So the sludge has already settled down. So anything which is above that, that's the liquid, this part, this is called as supernatant effluent. What is it called? Supernatant effluent, which contains, till now it contains a lot of organic matter and microorganisms. Okay. So after that, then our sewage will be allowed to go to the next step, that is the secondary treatment. So I hope you all are clear about the primary sedimentation tank, which takes place in the primary treatment. Now coming to the next treatment, that is secondary treatment. So in secondary treatment, it's a biological treatment. So the effluent, which was just above the sludge, that effluent is passed into large aeration tank. Can you see the aeration tank? See, I've shown you both the images. The real image, which actually looks like an aeration tank. Okay, and the other image is the inner part of the aeration tank, so that you understand what is the mechanism exactly. So now let us see about aeration tank. So here it is constantly agitated mechanically and air is pumped into it. Can you see there is an air diffuser here? Okay, so mechanically there is a device which helps to agitate, which helps to rotate it, and there is an air diffuser which diffuses air. So because of that air, now aerobic bacteria grows vigorously and they form a flux. What do they form? They form a flux. So obviously air is being suspended inside, so it's leading to the development of aerobic bacteria, and these are going to form flux. What are flux? Flux are the masses of bacteria which are held together by slime and fungal hyphae to form mesh-like masses. So it's like a thick form of a bacteria. Okay, so it's a mass of a bacteria, and these bacteria are very very sticky because they are held by slime and the fungal hyphae. You know hyphae, the structure of fungi has that hyphae thing which forms a mesh-like masses. So flocks get developed into the aerobic into the aeration tank, and this aerobic microorganism will consume major part of organic matter present in the effluent as they grow. So as there is a development of more and more bacteria developing, so it's going to eat up all the organic matter present in the effluent. So now after that what happens? So due to the BOD, that is biological oxygen demand of the effluent, gets significantly reduced. So now let us talk about the next treatment, that is tertiary treatment. So once the BOD of water is removed, it is passed into the settling tank. So once the biological oxygen demand of water is being removed, it is going into the next tank, which is called as settling tank. Can you see over here? Okay, see, this is the settling tank in the image after just besides aeration tank. So bacterial flocks are now settled in the bottom. Can you see? These are the bacterial flocks which are getting settled in the bottom, and now it is called as activated sludge. Why it is called as activated sludge? Because it has been developed with a biological process. Thus, when we were talking about just the sludge, it was a sludge which got developed in your primary sedimentation tank. So there is a difference between sludge and activated sludge. So this is an activated sludge because it got developed because of the bacteria, and small amount of this is passed back into the aeration tank, and major part is pumped into large tank called anaerobic sludge digester. So a little bit amount of this is passed into the aeration tank, so that again the bacteria get developed, and the remaining thing is passed into the next tank, that is anaerobic sludge digester. So let us see what happens in anaerobic sludge digester. So in these tanks, anaerobic bacteria grows and digests the bacteria and fungi in the sludge. So initially over in the aeration tank, aerobic bacteria were developing, right? But here in the anaerobic sludge digester, anaerobic bacteria gets developed and they try to kill up or digest the bacteria and fungi in the sludge. But what happens over here in this process, there are certain gases which are also released, like methane, hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide are produced. See, like this. Okay, so this is how it's get produced. So these are the gases which gets produced in the anaerobic sludge digester. And the effluent from these digester after chlorination are released in natural water bodies like river and stream. So after anaerobic digestion has been done, so the effluent, that is the water, will get purified with the help of chlorine, and then it will be released into the water bodies. What chlorine will do? Chlorine will try to kill all the pathogenic bacteria which are there, which was still there in the effluent. Okay, so that's all about the treatment. So let me sum up the treatment in just 5 minutes so that it gets into your head. Okay, so see, first of all, understand that the first treatment is preliminary treatment, where you have to talk about bar screening and grit chamber. So it's very simple. It's a bar screening. These are big grit chambers, so they are going to remove all the solid waste and coarse particles. Okay, then it will be going into the primary treatment, where we will be talking about the primary sedimentation tank. So in primary sedimentation tank, the sewage will be allowed to stand still for a longer period of time, and there would be coarse particle which will get settled in the bottom, which will be called as sludge, and the upper water will be called as supernatant effluent. Easy, right? And then it will go to the next treatment, that is your secondary treatment, where the primary effluent which is there, which it will be allowed to go into the aeration tank. So there will be a continuous supply of water because of the air diffuser. So continuous supply of air because of air diffuser, and because of which there will be development of aerobic bacteria which are going to which are going to form what? Which are going to form flocks, right? They are going to form flocks like mesh-like masses, and they are going to digest all the organic matter present in the effluent, right? And after aeration tank, now it will be now after aeration tank, it will be allowed to go to the, yes, settling tank, correct? It will be allowed to go to the settling tank, where all this waste flocks and everything will get settled in the bottom, which will be called now as activated sludge. So a small amount of activated sludge is again back put into the aeration tank, so that the bacteria gets develop and digest the matter, and the remaining thing is passed into the anaerobic sludge digester, which is your tertiary treatment. And in anaerobic sludge digester, the anaerobic bacteria grows, and it performs the anaerobic digestion, because of which there are certain gases which form like methane, hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, etc. Right? So once that gases are formed, the effluent is put into a chlorination treatment, where chlorine is going to kill almost all the pathogenic bacteria which is present in that. And after chlorination, it will be allowed to go to the water bodies. Is it clear? So that is all about your sewage treatment. I would say that it might be a little bit difficult when you think, like, when you try to recollect. The best way is like this, which you can see on the screen. Here I've written steps like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What you need to do is, when you're drawing this diagram, there's no need to draw the diagram. There is need to just make a schematic. So what you can do is, here I'll just show you how to do it. So in bar screening and grid chamber, you can write down preliminary treatment. Okay, like this. Sorry, I have not attached my tab over here. You can write down preliminary treatment, and you can write down what gets removed over here. So coarse particle get removed. Then in primary clarifier, here you can write down about the primary sedimentation tank. You can write about the sludge which gets formed. Okay. And then you can talk about the secondary treatment, aeration tank, and this is how you can form a schematic, which is going to really help you to remember. And don't worry, very soon you'll be seeing a schematic of sewage treatment in Insta prep session. So if you want that kind of a schematic, or if you want any such kind of a questions which you need to have a quick short notes on it, you can write it down on the comment section of the app, and then I'll let you know. Okay. So I'll meet you soon with the next video. That's all about the sewage treatment. So I'll meet you soon with the next video. Till then, bye everybody. Take care. Work hard. Work for your dreams.